Okay, this is the Hempfest episode, and it is chock full of interviews with both industry folks, industry luminaries, if you will, as well as attendees of Hempfest. We spoke to a bunch of people, and I'll check in along the way here to make sure that you're caught up on who we just spoke to, who we're about to speak to, and all of that. The episode is certainly front-loaded. We've got Tommy Chong, yes, that Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong. We've got John Davis, yes, that John Davis of NWPRC. We've got Charlo Greene, yes, that Charlo Greene of the Alaska Cannabis Club. And we've got Alison Holcomb, yes, that Alison Holcomb of the ACLU. And so, to kick us off, to get us started, we sat down with Tommy Chong with a camera, so you won't see that. So I'll say, see Tommy Chong. Just listen to him. That's right. Please welcome Tommy Chong. Okay, so you can plainly see we're here with Mr. Tommy Chong.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
Yeah. You know, it's a different world than it was when you guys started up, in the even 60s and 70s. As far as cannabis is concerned, we're sitting here at Hempfest in 2015. Just a first question, the biggest question. What are your thoughts about how far we've come to where we are now in cannabis?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So the question was...
Well, back in the day, you'd smoke a little bit and get stoned, and then you'd forget what was going on with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And now, 30, 40 years later, I'm still doing the same thing. I'm getting stoned, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out what I'm going to eat next.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. Nothing changes. The only difference is that the straight people who used to fear us potheads, now their children and their children's children have become potheads themselves.
Yeah.
And so we're quietly assimilating the whole world.
Yeah.
Eventually the whole world will be nothing but potheads, and it'll be a very peaceful place.
There we go. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We've interviewed, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, who is not a Democrat. That guy's a Republican.
You think?
Yeah, he worked with Reagan. How crazy that he's going to be speaking here today.
I think he worked with Adolf Hitler and the boys.
I don't know. We'll have to check that, I guess. We'll fact check that. But how crazy that he's speaking here today? How crazy is that?
Well, it shows you the times have changed, man. How many years has the Hempfest been going on now?
20-something years?
20?
Yeah.
Yeah. 20 years, man. and he's finally catching up to it now.
I gotcha. So you think he's late to the game, not
is,
early.
What it is, it's a trolley that's moving, and it's not stopping for anybody. And so you got to run and jump and grab on, and that's what he did, He wants to stay in the public eye. He has to go where the public is, and this is where they're at.
This is where the public is. So welcome in to everybody that's coming. Let's talk about commerce a little bit. You had a little bit of a hang up with your initial foray into commerce and cannabis, right?
Oh, you mean with the bongs?
Oh yeah, with the bongs, man.
Well, that was my political. That was during the Iraqi war, and that was George Bush's diversion tactic, to take the mind off of what he was doing.
Yeah.
Let's go after the bong people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The enemy, as far as the Iraq war was concerned, was, of course, Tommy Chong.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's all changed now. Here we are.
What did you learn from that first kind of foray into cannabis business into your current brands, if you will?
Well, the reason I got in the business was that people were bootlegging my name and my likeness, and so rather than have someone else sell the Chong Bong, I decided to sell our own. And it's a great business, because it's a growing business.
Right.
And it's growing bigger every day. And the great thing about weed is that you smoke it, then you need more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like food. It is a food.
Sure.
Food for
it's
the
plant.
brain.
Yeah.
It's food for the brain. But for commerce, it's going to save the world. It really is. This is You look at what happened in Northern California during the Great Plunge, the Great Depression, the plunge of '08. Nobody in Northern California was affected. They skated through, their mortgages were paid, they had their new cars. Gee, how did they do that? When everybody else were losing their homes and their jobs and, homeless. But Northern California managed to get by. And it was a little plant that miraculously did it.
There you go.
And there's another thing about commerce. We've been selling pot since the beginning of time, basically. But since when they made it illegal, pot went underground. And it became the biggest cash crop in the world because it was illegal.
Yeah, because of prohibition.
Prohibition. What prohibition did was gave us license to grow anything we wanted, any way we wanted, to create the plant how we wanted to create it, and then to get it to the people that need it, because it's a medicine.
Absolutely. It absolutely is.
And by making it illegal, they took off all the restrictions. There's no restrictions to how this plant could develop. Now, we not only developed a super plant that does everything. I mean, you can eat it. It cures so many diseases. They're still counting. They're still looking. It does. You can build with it. You can cure your animals with it. It's the magic plant. Now, Seattle and America now they're trying to figure out ways to own it, so they can get all the money. They can get all the money.
Right.
They tried demonizing it, didn't work. That's not going to work either.
Yeah.
All these restrictions, that they're doing with Washington and Colorado, all that.
Yeah. And Alaska and Oregon now coming.
Yeah.
Right.
All those restrictions they're going to be laughable because the black market is still here.
Yeah.
It didn't go away just because you can get a medical license and grow pot.
Yeah.
That black market, it's the biggest cash crop in the world, and it's been that way for as long as I can remember.
So we can try to put any restrictions on it that we can, but it's not going to work. Basically, with
how's it going to work?
Yeah.
I mean, like in Colorado, they're trying to tag every plant to know where that plant was growing here.
Yeah.
Duh. Who's going to check? And who cares? So the plant's been growing in Colorado. It's the same plant you can get in California, or you can get in India, you can get anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So the restrictions like that are like, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, I know we don't have much time with you, and you're starting to talk about strains, and I guess a good way to end with you is to talk about the first strain that I really learned about, which was part Labrador, part Maui Wowie. And if you could say that into this microphone.
What are you smoking? Did I say Labrador?
Yeah, man, definitely.
I think it's Labrador.
Yeah.
Labrador. What kind of strain is it? Well,
because the dog ate it.
Ate my
and so then you scooped it up, and it's part Labrador, part Maui Wowie. So it's a hybrid.
I followed him around 3 days with a baggie before I got it back.
Tommy Chong, man, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Right here. That's your raffle.
Oh, this way. All right, so we've got, this is John Davis. I mean, people remember you, right?
I'm glad you remember me. Good to see you, by the way.
Yeah, and thank you so much for bringing us in here. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning at Hempfest, so give us a sense behind the scenes what's happening right now as we speak.
Actually, it's been going pretty good this year. I mean, my job is to see everything that goes wrong, so, I always have a different perspective than everything else. But as far as the things that have gone wrong, I mean, there's not been any shows. Well, there was a showstopper, the little rain thing we had. But we still opened the event. We just didn't have anyone, on the stages. Everything was just too wet.
Yeah. All right. And what about vendors? How many vendors do we have? How many people are you expecting?
Well, we like to say we have 420 vendors, but it's right around in that neighborhood, a little more, a little less.
Okay. So it's not a hard number. It's a...
No, but it is right around that
Oh, it
number.
actually is?
It,
Oh, okay.
it actually is.
All right. And how many people are you expecting this year?
Oh, well, I mean, usually we'll have, depending on who does the count, you know, the count is a matter of some controversy, but we'll have, if everything goes right, at least 80,000 people today.
Perfect. City attorney, mayor, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. We've got some real people here.
Yeah.
What are they saying to you, you know, why they're coming?
Oh, well, geez, I just had dinner with Congressman Rohrabacher last night, and, you know, it's what he said to me, why he cares about it, freedom. That's what he said, you know, look, this is about individual liberty. I'm a Republican. We're about small government, individual liberties, states' rights. And, you know, the city attorney wants to see this, Pete Holmes, he wants to see this progress. He wants to see it... this notion of legalization take off. You know, everyone's kind of invested in it. You know, and especially from the governmental standpoint, now that they're seeing revenue, that's the big changer is revenue. So everyone is really invested in making sure that it's done right, done responsibly.
And there's a video message from Rand Paul. Is that still happening?
I talked to his campaign manager from California last night, and I'm not sure at this point.
Okay. Anybody else, though? Any other surprises as far as guests or people that are talking to you, interested, coming that you wouldn't have expected?
Well, I think you just talked to Tommy Chong. I didn't expect him. I know his people. I know Tommy.
Right.
But no, it's good to have him there. And you know, to some extent, I run the event. So sometimes I'm just as surprised as the next person by who shows up, you know. I don't invite the people. I just make sure everything works right.
And it's working, man. So, John, thanks so much.
So far, so good. Thank you.
So we're with Charlo Greene, and I did just ask her if she's done this, and of course that's your old job, right?
That was my old life. Yeah. I was a news anchor for years and years, but I gave it all up to fight for freedom and fairness.
So I feel like most people that are listening to this kind of have seen the clip that everybody's seen. Mm-hmm. Can you give us kind of the 15 minutes, 15 days, you know, a few months before, and what led up to that point for you?
Well, I was working as a journalist at the local CBS affiliate, and I was put on the crime and ports beat, and marijuana reform also fell under that. We had a vote coming up, ballot measure 2, which voters would have to decide whether or not we would legalize recreational use for adults. Right. So in doing my research, I had to fly to Washington State and to Colorado, and I met with a lot of people in the industry, with legislators, and with a lot of the people that had to drive across the nation in order to get medicine that they desperately needed. I met tons of them, and my heart went out to them. And then I come home learning more about our own laws, and we have a medical marijuana system, or at least we have a law that passed back in 1998 in Alaska, but absolutely no system. So while people in the lower 48, which is what we call all of you guys down here in the big part of the U.S., well, while you guys can drive to get relief, all of these people were just suffering. And these are my neighbors, people I went to school with, people in my community, and I knew that I could help. So I met with our own legislators, you know, as a journalist, still on the reporter beat, and I began analyzing our law, and I figured out a way to form Alaska's first legal marijuana resource, the Alaska Cannabis Club. So I started working that. I was reporter by day, weed lady by night, and it was really hard. I mean, the response we got as soon as we put up just the Facebook page, we were expecting a couple of likes. We don't know how big the cannabis community is. We got hundreds, which in Alaska is a pretty big deal. Right. And so the messages we got, we need this. Thank you so much. I've been dying without this. I just knew either I was going to stay a journalist or I was going to help out this community. Yeah. And it was a no-brainer. I became a journalist to help, and this was a way that I really, really could have an impact.
and you are getting medicine to patients. As I mentioned, I dropped by the shop when I was up in Alaska, and you guys are in Anchorage. Is there any sense, as far as you're concerned, to expand to Juneau, to Ketchikan, to Sitka, to the other cities?
Well, right now things are still really hazy in how legislators are moving forward in whether or not they're going to continue using up our resources to have our local police departments raid me.
Right.
Yeah, we just experienced our second raid about 7 days ago. Both happened after our recreational laws kicked in.
So we have sat down with Cindy Franklin, as I just mentioned to you, and we know what the kind of goal here is, to get kind of to the legislators right around the new year, so that we can have new rules going into 2016. What are you guys doing at your shop to kind of be ready for those, understanding that you keep getting raided?
We're just holding steady. I mean, we were in existence before the new law kicked in. We decided as a collective whether or not we were going to push for the new law, because we knew it was an opportunity for prohibitionists to come in and make legislation against something that we had that was working. But we don't want a monopoly. We don't want people needing to fly in 10 hours from this corner of Alaska because we're the only resource. So we pushed everything we had to passing, and it passed, and now they're making all these new laws, and we just really don't even know. We're going to stay serving our true purpose, which is helping out the medical marijuana community. We are open every day doing that. And until they introduce something making what we do illegal, nothing changes.
There we go. And so keep going. As far as the Alaskan Way, I learned about that when I went up to Alaska. Tell us about the Alaskan Way and how you guys are showcasing that through the club.
Well, I mean, we've had a really interesting relationship with marijuana, at least Alaska as a people, and our state constitution, which has secured our right to grow up to 24 plants and possess up to 4 ounces in our own homes since the 70s. I mean, that's constitutionally protected. So instead of us trying to erect some massive grow facility, which would violate some law, we're just asking all of these people that have been growing for decades, what do you have that can help patients? Contribute it to the collective. Pull that Alaskan way out. Come on, contribute, and let's be a community.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Totally, and it's for an outsider, it does seem, to Alaska, it does seem like there are similarities between you and California because of your relationship with growers.
Yeah, absolutely. We look to Spain. We look to California. Of course, taking into consideration all of the laws in Colorado and Washington, we hadn't passed the recreational law before or when we were forming the club. So we had to look for places that had systems that worked. California's medical marijuana community is a beautiful thing what they have there. And so we decided to pull best practices from the places that we knew were doing it and setting the standard, tying it in with the laws that we knew we could expect as far as security and all of that stuff from Colorado and Washington, and then throwing in that Alaska Constitution. It's the perfect recipe for the Alaska Cannabis Club. That's why we're still standing. That's why after 2 raids, no charges. We don't break the law. We are just that smart.
That's it.
We don't have to. We don't break the law. I mean, we just talked about cannabigotry. As a news anchor, I was a law-abiding citizen, tax-paying. I still am. Nothing changes, only I'm serving a greater purpose.
That's it. And John Davis, who helps run Hempfest from the NWPRC, he had plenty of raids before, we came into the light here in Washington State. So keep going, Charlo. Thanks so much for your time.
I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to preach the need for legal weed in places beyond Alaska. Thank you so much for your time, too.
All right. Okay, so we have the Alison Holcomb from the ACLU. Alison, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks so much for being here today.
So yeah, we are at Hempfest. It's August of 2015. You just got off of a panel. I think just to put the cart before the horse, we're trying to end mass incarcerations.
That's absolutely right. So, as you know, I was working with the ACLU of Washington for a few years, and while I was there, I was the person who did the primary drafting for Initiative 502, Washington State's marijuana legalization measure, and was also sort of loaned out to the campaign that ran that measure. But now, as of last November, I'm with the National ACLU organization working specifically on cutting the numbers of people behind bars in America in half.
Mm-hmm. And so we're with you. As far as 502 is concerned, what I would love to do is zero in on exactly what you did and how you came about, what you decided on, and what you learned from that. Because there is, there are learnings. So take us through the process, the kind of the elevator version.
Right. So we have to go back really to 2011, right, when California's Proposition 19 had just failed in 2010, and we didn't know whether or not marijuana legalization was actually ready for America to pass it. And so our approach was to, first of all, draft something that had enough reassurances in it that Washington state voters would be comfortable trying what no other jurisdiction in the world had yet done. And moreover, was a change that we were trying to make while the federal prohibition on marijuana was still in place. And then the second goal in the drafting was, of course, to make sure that the federal government would actually allow us to implement the law if the voters passed it. And they had indicated with California that, if you pass Proposition 19, we're going to come in and shut it down. So we were very cautious and conservative in our approach to the drafting. For us, what we were trying to do is to craft a model that could demonstrate that it is not necessary to use the criminal justice system to address a public health issue, which is the risks of potentially marijuana use. I would say in terms of lessons learned, we learned, especially when Colorado passed the measure that included home growing, for example, that we might actually have been able to include home growing, even though our public opinion research was telling us that we couldn't. Colorado didn't pass a per se standard that created a presumption that if you're driving with a certain amount of active THC in your system, that you're driving impaired, but it wasn't a definite per se standard like we did in Washington. So maybe we didn't need to be that conservative in having in there. And then, of course, there are all kinds of fun little drafting flaws when it turns out that you have a lawyer who's not a business lawyer drafting a system that's supposed to work for business interests. And so I guess what's been most important is that we've realized there's going to be lots of changes over the years. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And I guess that is something that Colorado did have, absolutely business lawyers on the scene. What about, we just talked to Charlo Greene from Alaska and Oregon. What are you seeing in that legislation as that passes? And then we'll talk about other states as well. But what are you seeing the lessons that they learned from Washington and Colorado?
I think that what's fantastic about Alaska and Oregon is both their models are a little bit different than Washington's and Colorado's. And I think something that the speakers touched on in the panel is that those states were also starting at different places. So, for example, Colorado had a very developed and regulated medical marijuana system that made certain aspects, the business aspects of going to legalization, smoother for them. And Alaska wasn't ready to go quite there yet. Washington, we had no regulation. We had a medical marijuana mess on our hands, and we sort of overcompensated by having a very tight regulatory system in 502. Oregon's in this nice place, sort of in between Colorado and Washington, of being able to come in with a law that should dovetail very well with medical. But I think what we're all learning right now is that there is this big risk for those states that are moving legalization forward, that the medical laws that they've had in place are in jeopardy. And, in fact, both here in Washington and in Oregon, we're hearing legislators say that, now that you've legalized, I guess we don't need medical marijuana anymore. And they're not appreciating that there are actually quite different experiences of the two different kinds of users and different regulatory needs.
Yeah, no, totally. And to that end, what are seen as successful medical states, Arizona, Minnesota, somewhat, what are your thoughts on those?
It's interesting because whether or not it's successful is really dependent on who's defining the success, right? And I fear that some people view a successful medical marijuana system as one that's extraordinarily restrictive and actually makes it difficult for patients to get access to the kinds of marijuana that they want, the kinds of quality assurances about pesticides and mold and funguses and other things, and that it's easy to access. There's still this problem that since we have a federal prohibition in place, physicians are very wary of recommending marijuana for their patients because they might lose their licenses to prescribe controlled substances, which are still controlled by the federal government. So if a state puts regulations in place that require physicians to be very specific about what they're recommending and why, etc., it can draw fire from the federal government. So that means that you wind up with a limited number of medical professionals that are willing to take the risk and help patients.
The next question that I want to ask you is on Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule 3, rescheduling. Take it any way you'd like it. If you want to answer it from the ACLU perspective, the Alison Holcomb perspective, what is your perspective?
Yeah, I think that the perspective really is one informed by what will the practical result be. And there is no doubt that patients would be better off if we moved cannabis off of Schedule 1 and onto a schedule that would legally allow physicians to prescribe it. Mm-hmm. However, from the ACLU perspective and from my personal perspective, the reality is the majority of marijuana use is not medical. And by having marijuana be on any schedule at all, you're still restricting adults' ability to responsibly use marijuana and running them afoul of criminal laws in their state and with the federal government, which means we don't get rid of the problem of too many people being arrested, prosecuted, and jailed.
In your opinion, you are a fighter. You know how to battle. You know what's against you. What is the key to descheduling? How do we go about doing that?
Oh, the magic answer. Wow, that's a great one. I think the reality is that until more states have legalized and we've really started to shift public perception about this intoxicant as compared to, for example, alcohol, which is not a scheduled substance, it's going to be very challenging to have the descheduling conversation. But the conversation is underway, and I think we have to be realistic that a lot of federal officials especially are going to be watching very closely for Washington, Colorado, Oregon, and Alaska to make mistakes. My hope, though, is that the game changer is California. It's the 8th largest economy in the world. It's its own nation state within the United States of America. I mean, if California legalizes, Congress has really got to look at what we're talking about with federal marijuana policy.
Indeed. So let's get in the car. We're going to go down to California, help them write up the laws that I know that they're writing, and let's get this done. Right, Alison?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Alison Holcomb, thanks so much.
Thank you.
So a ton of great information from Tommy and John and Charlo and Alison. Next up is Sid Maurer, who's in a similar situation to Charlo Greene. Ed Rosenthal, yes, that Ed Rosenthal, master grower, if you will. Our old friend Sue Sisley, who gives us an update on what's happening with her research into PTSD. Brendan Hill, yes, the drummer, if you know the name of that 90s outfit, but of course much more than that 90s outfit. Blues Traveler, who's opened up a business in Washington State, and Viv and John of the Hempfest production crew, which is fantastic. But first up is Sid Maurer. Okay, so we've got Sid, and we just spoke to Charlo, and the kind of, you guys are not even a Venn diagram. It's a very similar story. We talked to her about the kind of moments leading up to her decision, and in your case, it wasn't necessarily a decision.
Yeah, it wasn't. I was fired, so that is actually kind of, the biggest difference probably between our stories. But I mean, our message is very, very similar in the way that we just wanted to talk about it because so many people had this other, thought about us or, idea of our personalities, because being on the news, you give a sort of conception of yourself that is different than what is perceived to be, the marijuana users or cannabis users. So, that message is the same.
You were on the same panel as Charlo, and I thought that your point was an interesting one. As far as cannabis users, there is no definition, right?
Right. I think that, obviously there's this amazing culture that is, been labeled cannabis culture that we see here at Hempfest, and that is, I have no problem with that whatsoever. However, I do think that just like you see with people who use alcohol, or just like you see with people who do any sort of activity, you get a wide range of personalities. And I believe, in my experience, the people I've met all walks of life that use cannabis, but you only see this one sort of culture rising to the surface because that's what's expected.
Right.
And it's almost as if I like marijuana, maybe I should try to now fit into this culture, whereas I believe it's like, I still am the way I am, I just like marijuana. And I think that, a lot of people need to understand that it doesn't come along with, having to have these sort of ideas or a certain culture or attitude, but that anyone can be a user, and a lot of people are.
Absolutely. You're in Eugene. You just said you're still in Eugene.
Yeah.
What's your new job? I mean, is this your new job?
Basically, I guess right now, it's only been 3 weeks. As crazy as that is, that I've really spoken out about this. So right now I'm still kind of just like getting my feet under myself, and trying to get back to all the people who have reached out to me. I'm writing. I am doing a little bit of blogging for Marijuana Politics. It's a blog site, and hopefully doing some public speaking events as well. So we'll see where it leads me, maybe doing some more advocacy work in the future, hopefully.
Right. Well, we're with you, Sid. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. It was great to meet you.
All right. We're going to keep... All right, so we're here with Ed Rosenthal at Hempfest 2015. Ed, you literally wrote the book on growing.
Well, I had the opportunity to research, and that was one of my goals, yes.
And how long have you been doing this?
Too long.
Okay, fair enough. What are your thoughts on cannabis as an industry in 2015? Things are way different than they were 12 months ago. Things are way different than they were, 5 years ago. What are your thoughts?
I think it's growing very rapidly. It's not near maturity. It's evolving very quickly. And it's sort of like watching the computer industry and then the internet industries, because it keeps on expanding and the breadth of it expands as well.
Do you have thoughts on indoor versus outdoor grow and the various states and what they have to do to get the product to the patient?
Nothing that I can give you a short answer about.
Okay, can we talk about outdoor grow?
What about it?
I mean, if we're talking about California passing legislation on outdoor growing, what needs to be in that legislation from your opinion?
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked that, because I have a little marijuana users bill of rights, and that covers it exactly. And you can just go on Google and just put in marijuana users bill of rights and you'll see it. And one of the things is, two things are that everybody should have the right to grow for personal use, and that should not be restricted by county or city governments or anything like that. And then the second is easy entry and exit from the market, so that and that will reduce the illicit market, because the more people you exclude from the market, the more people you'll have participating outside of it.
So bring everybody in.
Bring everybody in. If you, for instance, let's say somebody is a grower now, and you say, well, for one reason or not, we're not bringing you in. And then what, you think that person is going to stop growing? No, so that helps to develop the illicit market. So not only do you want to cut demand in the illicit market, you want to cut supply. And the way to do that is by giving people an incentive to join the market, the illicit market.
Okay, I have 3 final questions for you.
Yes.
What has most surprised you in cannabis? That's the first one.
The breadth of the medical, I always knew it had medical applications, but the medical applications that they're finding for it, that's the first thing. And then the second thing is how rapidly the industry is growing and financially. And then the third is it's not really a surprise. It sort of confirms what I thought, is that once it reaches a certain mass or critical level, that society as a whole will change its opinion about it. And that's what's happening.
That's absolutely what's happening. Your answer might be the same for the next question, which is the second to last question. And that is, what has most surprised you in life?
That I'm still alive.
And thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Final question, might be the toughest one. On the soundtrack of your life, can you give us one track?
You mean a song?
Yeah.
Well, it would be The Wheel by Jerry Garcia.
There you have it. Ed Rosenthal, thank you so much.
Thank you. Maybe also by Paul McCartney as well. Both of them are wheels. They keep turning.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so it's basically from Tommy Chong to Alison Holcomb to Ed Rosenthal to Dr. Sue Sisley one more time.
I love it. I am honored to be among all these like legit legends in the marijuana movement. This is my first Hempfest, so I am fascinated by the energy of this crowd, the devotion to the plant. It's just been an amazing interaction. Last night I got to hang out with all these speakers who are so, such beacons of light in this movement, and it's been tremendous. So
you're here on behalf of veterans. The last time I saw you, we were at the Department of, we were in Colorado and we didn't necessarily get that done. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it was a heartbreaking day because the vets have been trying for so many years, and it's absurd that Colorado, which seems to be so progressive on every other front, is refusing to allow vets safe, legal access to lab-tested, quality medical marijuana. So the good news is that we've taken a new strategy now, and we've identified an exquisite law firm who has taken the case pro bono and has agreed to take this to court and find a judge who is sympathetic enough to, and as a human being who recognizes the injustice of this and is going to order the health department to add PTSD as a qualifying condition.
In Colorado specifically?
Yes, they're called Hoban and Fiola. They're based in Denver, and they've identified 6 veteran plaintiffs who've agreed to share their stories about how marijuana has helped. Some of them are card holders. Some of them can't get a card because they have PTSD and they don't qualify. Yeah. So I think it's going to be an incredibly compelling case, and hopefully we'll be able to be the second state in the country to add PTSD through the court system.
Totally, and we've had Bob on, so we certainly know Bob.
This.
Yeah.
Good, all right. Well, wasn't that nice of him to take this on? Because it's a lot of work. They spent weeks already just trying to research the legal arguments and make sure they have a winning case. And they came back to me and they said, we're going to succeed. We're going to take this on. And so I was so excited for the vets here in Colorado and around the country, because this is a precedent-setting state. If we can make it happen there, hopefully a lot of other states will follow suit.
That's exactly right. People tend to pay attention to what happens in Colorado.
That's the truth. Yeah.
That fight's going on. Yeah. What's the latest on Dr. Sue Sisley and NIDA?
NIDA is still waiting 17 months for marijuana study drug now. We have an empty safe waiting for the marijuana to arrive, and it's not there. And so in the meantime, we're still in limbo. We're trying to, persuade Johns Hopkins to approve the protocol still, which is a new challenge. Mm-hmm. That many of these giant universities have drawn down millions and millions of federal dollars to study harmful side effects of marijuana. Here's an opportunity for them to study effectiveness of marijuana, and look how they're bulking here. So
I mean, has there been any inching forward from a month ago, June, July, still in the same kind of boat?
Yeah, we're waiting. The IRB committee at Johns Hopkins has another week until they decide on whether they're going to embrace this or not. NIDA came back to us and said that they have a a phenotype of marijuana that is 7% CBD, 7% THC. A far cry from what we requested. 12% is what we asked for.
Yeah.
But we're reluctantly accepting it because we desperately need this study to get underway. We need objective data about how marijuana is working in human subjects.
Yeah.
And so we are determined to persevere and get this study implemented finally. And the only way to do that is to accept this very suboptimal strain of marijuana. Then that's what we'll do. And we're hopefully going to be underway in the next couple months, screening veterans for treatment of PTSD. Screening vets who might be eligible for the study. Hoping to find that probably have to screen 500 or 600 vets in order to find that optimal 78 veterans that meet all the inclusion and exclusion criteria. But it's shameful that we have a $2.2 million grant from the Colorado Health Department, and yet we still have to buy marijuana from NIDA. That they can keep this in limbo for years if they want.
And you've said I'll take the 7 and the 7, and they've not delivered it still.
No, there's so many layers of government red tape here. It's just astounding. Someday we'll have to lay it all out for the public so they can see the vast morass of ridiculous bureaucracy that's involved in this. It's so much easier to study heroin, LSD, MDMA, any other drug in Schedule 1. It's easier. Now when I study LSD, I can purchase research grade LSD from any laboratory in the country. Only marijuana you have to buy only from NIDA. So that's the really shameful. That's why we're talking to the crowd here, saying, hey, you all should be outraged by this, that taxpayer dollars are going to support an incompetent monopoly that is unable to produce the strains in a timely manner. This is just it's almost comic now how they get to function this way and they don't have any timeline. They can take years to approve studies, to let to green light things to move forward. So it's good. But the good news is that folks like you are shining a spotlight on this, and now with the help of the media, we're able to really expose all this wrongdoing and try to build awareness among the public. And we're starting to get really educated voters now who recognize that there is a war on science in this country, and it's not all science. It's only science that examines efficacy of marijuana, though, is definitely a huge threat to their business model. So
that's it. The fight goes on, and we will see you down the line. Dr. Sue Sisley.
Thank you, sir. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
All right.
All right, man.
All right, so this is Brendan Hill. Some of you might recognize him. He is a founding member of Blues Traveler and the drummer.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Seth. How are you?
Good to meet you. You should know that on occasion I do drop some NYC.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite songs, and it was about us growing up and moving to New York City and just the experience of living in a city when you're sort of a suburban kid and moving to the city and just everything around you. And I have to say that Cannabis did help us write that album. So just that was a big experience for us, moving to the city and learning how to play your instrument, and Bright Lights, big city.
There you go. And we are here now in Seattle at Hempfest in 2015, and you are now a local here.
I am. I've been here since 1995, so 20 years. And I moved to Bainbridge Island with my wife and my 2 kids, and now I have 3 kids, 10 years ago. And I'm actually now a recreational store owner. And we've been open about 5 weeks. It's called Paper and Leaf. And we're super excited to be part of the new wave. And it's definitely a privilege to be able to do something unique. And I don't know if you've seen our store, but what we're trying to do there is to present it in a way that removes the stigma from going into kind of a back alley or the black market kind of, which is the stigma to cannabis, which is kind of been going on even since it's been legalized. We want to make sure that people go in there feeling safe, comfortable, and then they can actually see the products on the walls. We've got them all divided by growers, and it's a beautiful plant. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience if you talk to the right people and you get the right experience, right knowledge, and choose the right strain or type for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Bainbridge Island specifically has a pretty diverse clientele, and you definitely have some folks that are our age, maybe even a little older, right?
Correct, yeah. And something interesting, Bainbridge Island voted for it 70%, which is one of the highest in the state. And we felt like we went to all the city council meetings and listened to what the public and the community wanted. And what they wanted was, something which, we made a choice not to carry any edibles that look like brownies and cookies, where it might be mistakenly eaten by, kids or anybody under 21. We believe there's a process for, the legalization. It's, over 21 and to be able to follow the rules. If we all kind of, help create this market where the state government feels like they're earning taxes from the product, then you're going to start to see that they're going to allow it in more areas, and you're going to see more states, and the tide will start to turn because it is it's something to do with the economy, and these a lot of states are hurting, and I think if California can legalize it recreationally as well as medicinally beyond what they've already done, I think you're going to see the rest of the country following suit.
Yeah, that is what most folks are talking about absolutely specifically right now. But the way that you talk about your dispensary is, it's almost like, listen, we've got a retail shop. We are going to run it responsibly. It happens to have cannabis inside.
That's correct. We all know that it's still federally illegal, on the federal level. And I think, just from the feelings I get from looking at the front pages of, almost every magazine in the last 3 or 4 months has had something to do with cannabis, weed, Newsweek, Sanjay Gupta, the opinions that are coming out is that this, incredible plant has been long neglected because it's been federally illegal. It's Schedule 1, of course, we all know the story. But I think if there's an opportunity for us to, just through the wave of just everyone treating it like it should be treated, which is a amazing plant, we can get it descheduled and start getting the research done on it and find out that this is an incredible plant that could, save the world. Hemp can save the world, right?
We got to leave it there. That's perfect,
Jack
Brendan.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. The emperor has no clothes, and hemp can save the world. Let's just put it there, right?
Thank you.
All right, sir.
26 for table donations from the entire local donation base. 20 cents for 140 bands, 120 speakers, 400 vendors. We're really begging you for $10 for the weekend. $2.30.
Since you just walked by, so we've got Viv and we've got John Davis, and I mean, I just love
Herb.
Yeah, Peach and Herb. Is that it? Is that how that goes?
I don't know.
Heavy on the herb.
Herb and Herb.
There we go. So we were just going to ask Viv, about kind of the history of Hempfest and how the kind of early years have led to these last couple, meaning post-vote type of thing, so post doors open even. So Viv, first couple of years, take us through, how that all came to be. And
Sure. Well, the idea for Seattle Hempfest actually came at a 6-month peace vigil occupation in Gasworks Park. And somebody was going to do a startup meeting for normal state chapter. About 40 of us showed up, but the guy was a no-show at his own meeting. So it's kind of anticlimactic. And it was Gary Cook, actually, down at Sisley Stage now, who had the idea. He said, hey, let's do a Hempfest. I said, okay, that sounds great. I was working with a group called the Seattle Peace Heathens. We were the first staff. We had 500 people at Volunteer Park. I remember going, dude, it's huge. There's 500 people. And little did we know, it was going to turn into the world's largest protestival someday.
That's it. And John has said that this is the largest event in Seattle, right?
Yeah, it's the largest event in Seattle, period, bar none, and which is great. I think the city kind of wrestles with that one every now and again, but.
That's it. And John, when we interviewed him last, talked about kind of how you guys have come to exist with the city and really kind of do this in concert, so to speak. Strike the balance between what you've seen these last couple of years versus what you know from those first couple of years.
Sure. Well, there's a certain yoga. It's like a Jedi mind trick to dance with bureaucracy. And we spend a year permitting this thing. We're on 3 separate parcels of land. So we need a use agreement with the Olympic Sculpture Park, a use permit for the Parks and Recreation for this, and then a use permit for the Port of Seattle, and then a special event permit from the city general. So it's a lot of moving and shaking and history making to get this thing to happen. In the early days, we really were green. We kind of came from a rock and roll background, and that's kind of how we knew to do a PA system and run a mic and do promotion and kind of stuff like that. And it's moved into the largest pot rally in the entire world.
Yeah, that's it. And what have you noticed about maybe the people that are on stage, because you're up on main stage kind of most of the time here, the difference between the people that are coming to the stage now than over the past 20 years?
Yeah, well, when we started Hempfest in '91, our audience was mostly guys with long hair and black leather jackets because the grunge scene was at its height here in Seattle. And now we've moved to some of the most high-profile national and even international cannabis policy reform activists, politicians, entertainers. We just had a former newscaster up there who got fired for her marijuana use. It's really kind of a smorgasbord, a cream of the crop of people advocating for legalization.
Fantastic. So the Peaches and Herb, what I'm going to do is pull John back and ask a final question here. On the soundtrack of life, I need for you each, if you would, to name one track, and we'll let John go first.
Name one musical track of the soundtrack of
On
life?
the soundtrack of your life.
Oh man, I don't. I wouldn't know where to begin with that one. I'm sure there's one out there, but it'd probably take me a couple hours to come up with.
Fair enough. He's a thinker.
My theme song for Hempfest would be Tom Petty's "We Won't Back Down."
There we go. Viv, thanks so much. John, thanks again. Appreciate it. All right. And so we didn't want to stop there. We wanted to make sure that you got a sense from the crowd also of what was going on. And so, without further ado, here's some folks that were kind of wandering about and just enjoying the festivities at Hempfest. How you doing?
How you doing?
All right. We spoke to Tommy Chong this morning.
Yes, I took a picture with him today.
There you go. So you got the shirt on?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're here at Hempfest?
Yes.
All right. What do you think?
I love it. First time here.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend it to all my friends when I get home.
Where are you from?
I'm from Federal Way.
Okay.
I'm from around here, so.
All right. And, do you have thoughts about the kind of cannabis, industry, or, do you come at it from simply a patient's perspective? How do you see it?
Well, I was in the military for a long time, so I just retired like a couple of years ago. So I did like 23 years in the military, so, weed, marijuana.
Thank you.
But marijuana in the military is like no dice, zero tolerance, you get kicked out. So when I got out, I got hurt, and I had to go get medical. And that just changed like the aspect of the whole like surrounding realms of it. And I just wish that the military would open their eyes and see like all like the PTSD all the guys are having right now. Marijuana helps them, but they don't realize that. So it's kind of like, they take all this medication, which is leading to other things, which is really bad. So
that's it. We just interviewed Dr. Sue Sisley for a second time. Do you know that name?
No.
She's doing some research on PTSD specifically for veterans.
Oh, cool.
So the industry is thinking about you guys, and we're behind you. And thank you for your service. And I guess enjoy the rest of the show, right?
I will. Thank you.
All right, we're here talking to the crowd at Hempfest. I'm here with Bob. Thank you for so much for talking to us, Bob.
Thank you, Ed.
So how long have you been coming to Hempfest?
I've been coming since 1998.
Oh, wow. Has it changed a lot since then?
When I was first here, first of all, Myrtle Edwards Park was wider then. Now it's in use for other purposes. So Hempfest was half the length that it is now.
Nice. Wow, interesting. So now, it's spread out all along the coast here.
Exactly. So I've played Sealy Stage as part of Tribal Voices since 1998. Tribal Voices played before that, but I joined them then. And at that time, we'd play on a stage that was barely 3 feet off the ground with no backstage to speak of, really. And there was a scattering of people in front of us.
A little bit different now, I'd say.
It has grown over the years, bigger and bigger.
You getting on stage this year at all?
We played this morning. We've been opening Sisley Stage nonstop since I think 1995, both Saturday and Sunday mornings. So we've been on that stage all those years.
Excellent. Now you got the rest of the day to hang out here at Hempfest.
Exactly. I enjoy it immensely, and sometimes I go home early, depending what my energy level is. But if I can, I stay and enjoy it as long as I can stand it.
That sounds excellent. Well, we're glad you're here. Glad you're still coming.
Well, it's good to see you, and it's good to see the people continue to like Hempfest. There has been a fight to legalize marijuana, which has been much of the driving force behind the Hempfest. And even though at least part of those goals have been accomplished, Hempfest is still a wonderful festival that will continue to flourish for years to come, I hope. And I hope I can play as long as I can stand.
Well, we hope so too. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank
you. I'm here with
Thomas.
Thomas, tell us a little bit about why you're here today.
I actually came out from Boulder, Colorado with hemp ice cream. It's a vegan, non-dairy ice cream.
Excellent. Getting some customers today?
Oh yeah, today's a great day. Yesterday it rained the whole time.
Is this your guys' first time at Hempfest?
Hemp ice cream has been here for over 10 years. This is my personal first time.
Nice. You got any sense of how it's gotten bigger and bigger over the years?
I've only heard that it's gotten bigger. It's interesting. In the past, we were able to give out like free samples, but now that it's gotten bigger, we're able to give out samples. It's changed in a lot of different ways I can only imagine.
Absolutely. You're gonna have some time to hang out here yourself?
Well, I had to run off and so I can go listen to music. I heard the music was jamming, so I was like, guys, I gotta take a break real fast. Something's happening. But it's interesting because we're actually one of the fewest vendors here who are actually selling industrial hemp products. So we're selling the hemp ice cream, and we're only like a handful of people who are actually selling hemp products.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think they're even trying to get industrial hemp cultivation legalized here in Washington. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, that'd be really great because I'm out in Colorado, and I personally have my own hemp field, and I think everyone should be able to get that opportunity. So I'd really like to hear the improvements upon that, as well as other states as well.
Excellent. Well, we're glad you're here, and I'm glad to hear you're having a good time so far.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks, man. All right, we're here talking to more people at Hempfest. I'm here with...
my name's Johnny Crescione.
Johnny, see, we can't help but notice you're wearing a Bernie Sanders t-shirt.
Yeah, he's the only one that cares about actually fixing the drug war. So everybody here should and probably does support him, just like the rest of the United States. He's going to win 2016.
Nice. It seems like you already have a lot of supporters here, and if not, you're drumming up a lot of support.
Oh, yeah. I got a unique opportunity to be media at the Bernie Sanders event. Even though nobody else really covered it, he's kind of on a media blackout right now, but that doesn't really matter because all his supporters have been using social media. So we have been really killing it at that. No other candidates even touching us on social media right now. So we're all pretty confident. Yeah.
Absolutely. The power of grassroots right there. Yeah. So do you here on behalf of the campaign in a sort of quasi-official capacity in something?
Yeah, I'm just helping out everybody for Bernie Sanders is kind of a volunteer. So we're not really getting paid. We're just passionate about the revolution. So that's what we're doing. I'm really happy to be here at Hempfest because this was actually my first call to activism. It was the first time as a millennial that I saw that my vote really does matter, and that if I did want something to happen, then I can get behind it. I actually volunteered for the hemp movement and legalizing it. I got signatures. I really worked hard for it, and then to see it happen and to see it get voted in was a really amazing experience, and it just really opened my eyes that, hey, my voice matters. I matter. I want to get out there and really change the world, and I could do it just by trying and just by getting behind other activists and other groups and just trying to save everybody and fix everything,
Absolutely. Well, you can feel the energy here. There's a lot of excitement in the cannabis world right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's your first time at Hempfest?
No, I've been coming here for about 10 years.
All right, so you've seen a lot of the changes, I imagine, firsthand.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty crazy. When it was illegal, it was always kind of weird walking past a cop. and just being like, well, we're here, what are you going to do about it? And eventually it really grew, really took off. I remember the first one I went to, there was only like 20,000 people or something, and now it's just insane. I mean, it's all 3 days, there's 500,000 different people here all through the weekend. It's just an awesome time. It's really amazing. Last year, everybody was kind of giving each other high fives and just, dapsing each other while we were walking by, like, yeah, we legalized it, what are you going to do? DEA, suck it, you're not raiding any of us now. And it's just kind of one of those deals where you can see it in everybody's eyes, the excitement, the fact that we made this happen. This was years and years and years of work with many volunteers, thousands of volunteers, and this event, I think, was one of the big reasons why weed's legal here in Washington, but we're also seeing it start to be legalized in Oregon, and Idaho's thinking about getting stuff passed, and it's just really amazing. It's like the ball really got rolling, and it was all of us just wanted to party and smoke bud and not have the cops do anything about it. So that's how this all got started,
Nice, and it's a testament to the hard work you guys have put in too, so thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
Great talking to you, Johnny.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for sure.
So there you have it. Tommy Chong, John Davis, Charlo Greene, Alison Holcomb, Ed Rosenthal, Sid Moore, Dr. Sue Sisley, Brendan Hill, Viv and John from the production crew of Hempfest, and also, of course, those participants. Hope you enjoyed it, and maybe we'll do something else like this down the line.